What's happening, guys? 0 hour, and it is finally upon us, folks. It is fight week for Aries Ampd. Tim Lloyd joined by Jeff Hobbs, Dylan McCarthy, and guys, it's finally upon us. It's fight week. Aries Ampd goes down this Saturday, August the 13th, from the Fairgrounds Nashville venue in Nashville, Tennessee. Of course, stacked card, and We've been talking to a lot of these guys here on the channel, lots of interviews with just about everybody on the card. So make sure you check those out. But, today we're going to get into it a little bit more in depth. We're going to talk about, our take on the entire card. We're going to break down the card, and then we're going to unveil the Action at 247 betting odds for the pro bouts, which is very, very exciting. Jeff, a lot of work on this one, and it is about to finally come to a head. It's been exhausting, but there's a lot of energy behind this one. There's a lot of hype. I'm excited for it. It doesn't, we say we're excited for every card, and we've got to, and we are, for the most part. But to get us like really excited, you got to have something, and I think we got something this weekend.
Yeah, it's definitely a nervous excitement. We don't have the opportunity a lot of times to have the extended, lengthy build-up to a show like we did this one. It's kind of an add-on. So it's, Tim, 3-4 months ago when we really started kind of telling people about this card, it seemed like so far away, but the time has flown by, and it's finally here. Nervous excitement for sure. A lot of work still to be done in the next 5 days, but man, what an exciting card, what an exciting show to invite our fans to and let them see kind of how we have amped it up, for this show. So it's all going down, man. We cannot stop the clock. It's coming.
Dylan McCarthy also joins us. Dylan, stepping out of the commentary booth this weekend to assist on the managerial end of things. But nonetheless, you have done your homework on this card. You're ready to break it down with us today. And, overall vibe going into Nashville, man. I know you're excited. I know, you've been helping us on the ground with a Chattanooga card coming up, next week. Can't forget about that also, folks. Aries 11, Chattanooga, Camp Jordan Arena, the very next week, August the 20th. We'll be, diving deeper into that really hardcore next week. What's the vibe for you going into Amp, my man?
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, commentary table, no commentary table. I'm a man who's never at a loss for words. And when I took a look at the complete card here for Amped, it's very appropriately named. Nashville is a premier destination in our country right now. Everybody, it seems like, is trying to get to Nashville. So it makes sense that as Aries is taking things to the next level, an event bigger than we've had before, that's a perfect destination for us. And I can only imagine, you want to talk about nervous energy. I mean, this is just such a jump, I mean, our events, our live events are always a great time to be a part of. But you look at some of the names on this card, and it's almost like 3 or 4 events crammed into one. So each day that has gone by here and you're getting through your life day to day, I am so stoked for this next weekend, or should I say Amp, because it's just going to be awesome. So I can't wait to see you guys and see some great fights.
Before we get going, do us a favor, like the channel, subscribe to the channel. That way you get notified every time we post new content. Lots of fights going to be going up on the channel, of course. All the interviews with so many of these guys. You can get a little insight into what these guys are thinking going into these fights. Make sure you check out those interviews, like, subscribe, comment down there. Let us know who you're rooting for, who you're tuning in to see on Spectation Sports this Saturday. To get us in the mood, let's hit that promo one more time, Jeff, and let's kind of get ourselves amped up for this breakdown.
Yes, sir.
let's get to it, guys. Into this breakdown, of course, you can only catch this action on spectationsports.com. You can gamble on the pro stuff at action247.com. Make sure you use promo code Aries, and they're going to match your initial deposit bonus up to $400. So let's see, guys. We're going to start things off with the preliminary action, and all this all goes down. I think we're getting started at 6 o'clock Central Time, if I'm not mistaken, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
Prelims is going to be fun. We kind of got a little taste of each of the things that we typically do early on the card. We've got a tag team grappling match. We've got a straight up grappling match between two fairly high level guys. And then we've got a Muay Thai bout before we get into all MMA for the rest of the night. So a little sampling in the prelims of what we do at Aries on a regular basis, leading off with tag team grappling. And, this is one of my guilty pleasures. We talk about it all the time. And this is going to be one of our first bouts that we've had returning teams come, two teams that have competed and have, for the most part, had some success out there. They know what they're doing. So I'm expecting some strategy here as we've got the Smiths, the Bang Bros, as it were, Dalton Smith, Hayden Smith out of Agoge Combatives, Chattanooga, Tennessee. They'll be taking on the team of Josh Maynor and Corey Johnson. Josh Maynor out of Pedigo Submissions, Corey Johnson out of Nashville MMA. This is going to be at a combined weight of 400 pounds. We'll go to Dylan for your take on this. The Smiths, we saw in action a couple of shows back in Chattanooga as they dispatched very quickly of Justin Watson and Corey Henson. Looked like a well-oiled machine out there. And then, of course, we just very recently saw Maynor and Johnson, even though they came up on the losing end of their match, really looked good, I thought. And, Maynor's probably done more tag team matches than anybody. I don't know that I can say that for sure, but he's certainly one of the more experienced tag team grapplers out there.
He's been involved. He's been involved.
He's been involved with a lot of tag team matches. So Josh Maynor and Corey Johnson taking on Dalton and Hayden Smith. What's your take on this opening contest? Should get the crowd, kind of lightened up and in the mood because both these teams will bring it.
Well, the Bang Bros there, the Smiths, they tricked me. The first time I saw them compete, I just assumed they were brothers. They were super cohesive. They looked like a well-oiled machine en route to a pretty easy victory the first time I saw them compete. I did learn that night that they're not brothers. They just share the same last name, so they will not be tricking me again. But yeah, it's great that we're seeing a couple of these teams now with Maynor and Johnson versus the Smiths. The experience factor, right? So people are learning from previous bouts. You're seeing more strategy incorporated. And it's pretty unique action. I always love this. It gets things going. Kind of gets a palate cleanser here, gets you ready and locked in to see a night of combat sports. I don't have a read on it either way. I maybe would lean the Bang Bros, but honestly, the experience factor for both teams, I feel like both are improving. And Maynor and Johnson coming from two great gyms, so you can't count anybody out here. It's going to be an awesome way to start the night.
And then, of course, moving on. Now that is set for one 10-minute round or a race to 3 subs, whichever happens first. Our second preliminary bout, also a 10-minute round. Only 1 sub, though, in this one, as we've got Amanj Mai out of Henzo Gracie in Nashville, also representing Matrix BJJ in Nashville. He'll be taking on Andrew Havener out of Nice Guy Submissions in Evansville, Indiana. And, both these guys we're familiar with. Andrew Havener, MMA fighter, just recently awarded his brown belt. So congratulations to Andrew. And then Amanj Mai, of course, younger brother of Ava Mai, who we'll see competing a little later in the evening. Jeff, we'll go to you on this.
Yeah, this was originally booked. We had it right on the money, purple belt versus purple belt. And then we get a message this week that Havener was promoted to brown belt. So congratulations to him. For a split second, we were wondering if, we were going to be able to keep the match with the promotion. But the great thing, I really never had a doubt, because the great thing about these hardcore practitioners and BJJ players is, they love a challenge. And they love going against higher ranked belts. It was never even a question when we spoke to the Mai camp. It was still just a resounding hell yeah. let's go, bro. Here's my walkout song. The belt was irrelevant. This is definitely high level. We've been lucky in the past. Tim, you and myself have put together, if you think back, the Raleigh Delgado versus Brian Tidwell grappling, put together some really, good high level grappling matches in the past. And this one ranks right up there. Havener is the Stone Cold Steve Austin, I'd say, of BJJ. He's not far without a mini cooler of Busch Light in it, and but like I said, as funny as Havener is, he takes this skill really serious, as his belt color shows. But Amaj is young, he's confident, he's got that mighty swag. He definitely feels that his combination of amateur wrestling and his BJJ purple belt gives him the edge. So this is going to be exciting to watch. I think while our tag team will get the crowd in a good mood and having fun, I think this one's going to have them zoned in with the oohs and ahs of transitions and the chess match that's going to go on in it. I think this one's going to have them just zoomed in on the skill level.
Rounding out the preliminaries, we've got Muay Thai action. We just put this one together a couple days ago, so props to all sides for jumping on board here late. We wanted to offer just a little bit of everything for you guys, and this one will be a featherweight bout, 3 2-minute rounds here. It's going to be Phil Hedgewood, 1-1 out of Nashville MMA, protecting his home turf, or looking to protect his home turf, as it were, against Tama Martial Arts, Nick Durst, who is 1-0 in Muay Thai out of Dayton, Ohio. Now, Durst does have some MMA experience as well, so excited to see this one. I'm not real familiar with Durst, but he came recommended from our pals up at Sakan Muay Thai in Ohio, and they've been coming down and competing, and I'd asked them if they had someone for the slot, and they didn't, but then they turned me on to these guys. So if they tell me that these guys are going to be good and prepared, then I believe it, because those Sakan guys are always come correct. So excited to see Nick Durst. Of course, Hedgewood we've seen compete, I want to say last time on the Underground show, close decision in that one, and training Dorian Price and those guys, he's going to come ready. Jeff, I'm going to stay with it here with you on this one.
Yeah, exciting to be able to add this to the card last minute. We battle back and forth on how many Thai fights to put on a card, how many not to put on a card, but we looked at this one and said, we've got to dabble a little bit in there. And, the great thing was these guys like Hedgewood, they just wanted to be a part of this card. They saw their teammates, they saw what a stacked and exciting card this is going to be, and it's just like, please find me something. So it was awesome to be able to do that and add a little Muay Thai action in there and get as many people involved, especially here locally, as possible. Like you said, I don't know a lot about Durst's background or his gym, but he's coming from a traditional Muay Thai gym, it seems like. And Dorian Price is as traditional and hardcore Muay Thai as they come in our area, I think. So I'm going to imagine a lot of skill level, in both of these gentlemen. So while sometimes, at the Joe, we see the guns a-blazing, swinging for the fences, I think we're going to see a lot more precise and not a lot of wasted movement kind of action in this fight. So I'm excited. I'm excited that, for the Muay Thai enthusiasts, that we're able to give them something as well.
Moving on to the MMA portion of the undercard, they should be kicking off right around 7 o'clock Central Time. We have got a welterweight contest to open things up. Kyle Castelline makes his MMA debut out of Huntsville, Alabama. He'll be taking on Rashad Lockhart, who is 0-1 out of Nashville MMA. And Dylan, I'll go to you on this one. I've not seen Lockhart fight before. It looks like he did have his first bout on a different promotion a couple years back. And then Castelline, we have seen in tag team grappling, and we've seen him in Muay Thai. This will be his first time in MMA. Excited to hear your take on this opening contest on the undercard.
Yeah, this fight, I think it's going to bring some energy. Rashad Lockhart's going to have the pressure of performing in front of a big home audience. The other side of this one, Kyle Castelline, who Aries fans might be more familiar with. So we've seen him in a tag team grappling contest that I believe ended in a draw. We saw him just recently at the last Aries card in Knoxville where he came up on the short end of a Muay Thai contest. But that, if you just looked at the result and you didn't watch the fight, Kyle's extremely entertaining. He fights with a good sense of urgency. There was a couple times when they got into the clinch, and you can tell that Castelline is a complete martial artist because he started instinctively searching for a double leg. A couple of times had to stop himself because obviously it was a Muay Thai contest. He looks to be, from what we've seen in the tag team realm, he looks to be a competent grappler, entertaining on the feet, and just coming out of this being the first MMA contest of the night, I have a feeling these guys are going to want to put a stamp on the night for themselves in front of a big crowd. How can you not be amped up in front of a big crowd? So I'm stoked. I think it's going to be a good contest, and I'm excited to see Rashad Lockhart debut in front of the Aries fans. So that'll be exciting.
A lot of nervous energy, I think, for this one could lead to exactly what Dylan said, just one of those kind of potentially frantic, high-paced fights. For anything you want to add on this one, Jeff?
Not really, man. I mean, Dylan hit it on the head right there. We've talked about the story of Castelline and, how we were introduced to him, how he's slowly stepped in, getting his toes wet, getting his feet wet, if you will, jumping in the grappling match that we had. And like Dylan said, seemed very confident in the grappling, more of a wrestling style than a jiu-jitsu style, but really carried more of the load for his team during that bout and match. And then exactly what Dylan just said, if you just look at the result of that Muay Thai fight, you are doing yourself a disservice by not really watching the video itself, because those two put on a banger at the Cotton Eye Joe. And while he came up on the wrong side of that bout, it was not that he did not put on a damn show, for the crowd. So I'm imagining same energy. He's got really good friends on this card. Justin Jamar, I think that's a big reason why he wanted on this card. He's got the same running buddies and group of friends that Justin has with the Tennessee Titans linebacker Monty Rice. So it was important for him to be on this card with his friends and friends from back home in Alabama. So I imagine he's gonna throw caution to the wind and give everything he got. Lockhart, though, I met him for the first time, as Dylan would say, sweetheart of a gentleman. Was a very nice guy. Big guy. I'm not gonna lie, big guy. He's built. He's got just a taller frame, if you will, wider shoulders, kind of a big guy, and seems to be in excellent shape. I don't know, Tim, who did he lose to?
A guy named Cooper. It was Cooper something. It was a Wild Side guy, young buck from Wild Side that he lost to on a Warriors Den show, I believe.
Just meeting Rashad. Your first question is, who the hell beat this guy? But as we know in this game, your physical appearance means nothing about your skill inside the cage. So I'm just interested, man. Interested to see what Lockhart brings. Like I said, great guy to work with. I hope and I really feel the same as you guys do, that this one is going to set the tone for the rest of the night.
Up next, it's a catchweight bout, 140 pounds, and it's going to be the debuting Jonathan Rivers, representing Powell's MMA system in Huntsville, Alabama. He is going to be taking on Sammy Shires, 1-0 out of Team Wildside in Clarksville, Tennessee. And, both these guys are young bucks. I'm not exactly sure what to expect here. Jeff, I'm going to go to you because you're a little more familiar with Shires. But both these guys are, very young in their years. I expect a lot of athleticism from these gentlemen. I expect a lot of energy.
Yeah, definitely. I expect energy as well, just because of their age, how young they are. These, I don't want to say kids. They're not kids anymore, but they are still very young. Shires just graduating from high school this past May. I was fortunate enough to see his MMA debut, which happened, I believe, a week after his 18th birthday and just a couple of weeks after the graduation line. So I had the privilege of working a show that he made his debut on, and a lot of times when you work those shows, you're there just to do your job. But I took note. I texted him immediately. I was like, all right, hey, maybe something here. Um, great fan base. Sounds like he was an excellent high school athlete, which garnered a lot of fans and a lot of support. And seems that they are following him to Nashville now for his sophomore outing. Rivers is going to be hard to take a read on because we just don't have a lot of background on him. You Google him, you look him up. Not a lot of background. Looks like he was heavy into ROTC, and I got a military vibe if you look him up and follow him on social media. Looks to be in phenomenal shape, but we just don't have that history with his gym. It was a new gym, new coach that's reached out to you, Tim, and but who knows? We may get future guys from this gym now. But I imagine with both these guys just being young, energetic, athletic type guys, this is going to be a fast-paced, really no stall in action type of bout.
Well, for the record, we will be getting future guys. Sherman Washington competing out of that team as well for on Chattanooga card next week. So we'll get to see a little bit more of them. Okay, so then business really begins to pick up. So far, all this has been fun. All these have been, what we are fairly sure will be exciting fights. But from here on, it's it's like all really good shit. So we've got the amateur co-main event up next, guys. And it's going to be for our first ever Aries Middleweight Championship. For the amateurs, it's going to be potentially five 3-minute rounds. And now I'll set the table here. Originally, this was supposed to be Jacob Adams taking on Corey Farmer for the 185 title. Jacob Adams coming off a win over Xavier Horton. Said he was ready to go, ready to book turnaround quickly for this Nashville card. Now, this is coming off of what was already known to be a pretty gnarly knee injury. But quick turnaround, agrees to fight Corey Farmer. Corey Farmer also coming off a big win over Tristan Scarborough. And that fight was good to go. We announced it. We were excited for it. And then Corey Farmer goes ghost for, like 3 weeks. And then finally got back with me about 2 weeks ago, maybe a week and a half ago, and told me he was out of the fight. Jacob Adams' knee was still a little bit banged up. He welcomed the opportunity to heal up and await the winner of this fight we're about to talk about, which will now be for the 185 title. The winner moving on to face Jacob Adams in October. It's going to be Aaron Terrell taking on Josh Booker. Aaron Terrell, 3-1 out of Lance Patrick's Outlook MMA in Nashville, Tennessee. He's got an interview on the channel here. Make sure you check that out. It's really good. He is, he's wrestling coach. He is, lifetime wrestler. Even I want to say he wrestled at Cumberland.
I think
Cumberland? Just very well put together, very athletic. Has been out a couple of years, so it'd be very interesting to see, what the time off has if he comes back showing improvement or if there's any rust at all. Josh Booker, 2-0 out of Agogi Combatives. He has had both of his fights this year, coming off of a fight of the night. If it wasn't fight of the night, it was like real close to being fight of the night against Miles Dillahunty in Chattanooga. Miles Dillahunty, an ATT Lima guy, very, very good, very tough. That was a controversial split decision for Josh Booker. We talked about it here in our recap shows and whatnot, but Booker also a wrestler, very big and tall and long for 185. Great fight here. This is really hard to call. Aaron Terrell is very confident. If you listen to him in his interview, he says that there's nothing that Booker really can do at all. From what I could gather, that he didn't feel like he was better. He felt like he's better than him in all phases. We're going to have an interview with Josh Booker here in the next day or so to get his take on things. I'll go to both of you guys for this one. I think Terrell, not as fresh in our minds. It's been a while since he's competed. He's had fights fall out on him over the past couple of years as well. But beyond that, there was like a self-imposed at least year or so where he just wasn't competing. Dylan, we'll go to you first. Your take on this title fight, and I'd like to. You don't got to really give me a prediction if you don't want to, but do you? I would like to know your take on if you think we'll get a full 5 rounds or not.
Oh, okay. Well, I will just say by this point on the Amped card, the parachute better be packed because this is basically like jumping out of the airplane. It goes crazy after this one. And I looked this morning. I wasn't as familiar with Aaron Terrell. He was more active before I was kind of on the scene down here. And after watching some tape on him, guy's got amazing top pressure. He looks strong as hell. And I will say that if you're strong as hell, you better be strong as hell because if you're fighting Josh Booker, he's such a big guy. He's going to impose his will on you. So you got an unstoppable force versus an unmovable object kind of scenario playing out. For Josh Booker, you touched on it, the fight with Miles Dillahunty, a seesaw battle. Booker at the end of the fight pretty much utilized his top pressure and his grappling to wrestle away the split decision. Then we briefly saw Booker competing in a little tag team grappling action where he was, no disrespect to the opponents here, the man was manhandling 2 men at once during the tag period. He was grabbing people by the chest, kicking people out of the club. Just amazing to see. So do you want to know if we go the full 5? I don't. I think somebody is going to gas. With the wrestling the most exhausting aspect here of combat sports, and I'm sure these guys are in great shape, but they're not going to give one another an inch in the grappling realm. So what happens if that cancels out? Well, it's going to get greasy and there's going to be body blows and big overhand rights. And when you got guys this size, somebody could be going to sleep in this one. Title on the line. It's a shame that we lost Adams, but I'm so stoked to see him compete against the winner of this bout. And this is a great division for Aries, and I'm just excited for all the action here.
Jeff.
Yeah. You can't listen to that Aaron Terrell interview and not, get excited. We've seen this happen in the past where we may have only heard one side of an interview, but when you know the other guy that's on the other side, what his opponent is saying about him and how he thinks this fight's going to go just gets you amped up because it's just going to be this. Like you said, Josh Booker is a big, tall, rangy type guy. Aaron Terrell he's not small by any means, but he's definitely more muscular, compact type guy. Something's going to give here. It's going to be whether or not Booker, I think, can keep that range, keep him on the outside of his, at length of his punches, or if Aaron Terrell is going to be able to get his hands on Booker and try to make this just a dirty, grindy, grappling affair with some ground and pound. So, same as you guys. I mean, I hate losing Adams and Farmer, but I don't think we lost anything at all when it comes to quality of fight for this title whatsoever. In fact, all it really does is make a potential fight later on that's just as exciting, for the winner. Aaron Terrell has made no secret that he is leaning, even if he wins this title, to go pro, which is heartbreaking a little that we couldn't maybe see if he wins an Adams and Terrell fight, but nonetheless, it makes an exciting bunch of options for Terrell as a debuting professional for us if we want.
I see storylines.
Yes, and then on the other side, Booker pulls away in this fight and goes home with that championship belt. Booker and Adams is going to be amazing. So I don't think we're going to lose. I don't think the fans are going to lose. I don't think anybody's going to lose in this fight.
As I mentioned when we were talking to Aaron Terrell, Josh Booker has Torres Finney in his camp, which is a very good look as far as a prototype, a body type, a style to prepare him for Terrell. That we'll see if that comes in handy or not. If he's more prepared for him, given his ability to train with someone of similar ilk in his camp. And I'll say it. If Terrell manages to knock off Josh Booker, then the Torres Finney fight and Aaron Terrell makes a whole lot of sense if he wants to go pro. Yes. All right. Moving on to our amateur main event. This is going to be another 5-round bout for the now vacant 155-pound Aries lightweight amateur championship. As current champion, I guess this would have really been kind of like interim if we thought about it. But as Craig French is over in the Ukraine, being a mercenary for hire,
fighting the good fight,
yeah. And so he'll be back at some point, but who knows, indefinitely. For now, though, we must keep the division moving along. And Justin Jamar is coming off of a big win over Daniel Gonzalez, as he is 7-2 and looking to move to 8-2 and pick up that Aries strap. But in his way will be Carrington Johnson, who is Carrington Johnson has fought nothing but killers so far. Carrington Johnson 2-1. Coming out of that Striker Fight Center camp in Kennesaw, Georgia. And, he's coming off of a win over Anthony Bryant, an Agogi guy last time out. His one loss to Emilio Hernandez, he had a really good showing in. And then he's also got a head kick knockout of Margell Kirby that has aged pretty well, too. So Carrington Johnson ain't no slouch. Let's just say that. This guy's very, very good, very skilled. And you got interviews with both of these guys on the channel. Make sure you check it out. They're both very, very respectful athletes, sportsmen, and they respect each other, man. At the Chattanooga show, they were in the same locker room together, and I started teasing this then. And so they're definitely friendly with each other, but they're going to let it go, I believe, in search of that title. Jeff, I'll let you lead off here. 5 rounds. We going 5 rounds here? I would have never. A while ago, I would have never thought we would have, but after watching Jamar's composure kind of level up, I guess you would say, he's not necessarily just balls to the wall for sure now. I could see 5 rounds potentially. I don't know.
I don't want it to come off wrong by saying this, but I just feel like if we go 5 rounds, it'll depend on who wins. It's going to be determined by who wins. I see if one of these guys is the victor, it will be because it went 5 rounds, and if the other guy ends up victorious, it will have not been 5 rounds. I think it going 5 rounds will definitely be determined by who gets their shit off. Who fights their game will determine on the length of these rounds. But like I said, I mean, even to the point where these guys are not BFFs by any means, but I know when you first tossed around this fight, it was almost kind of that little, well, yeah, we would, but I mean, I kind of like that guy, But that championship gold changes people's minds quick on how tight their friendships are. Yeah. Both these guys are in this sport for a reason, and they have goals, and this is one of them. And so friendships get thrown aside. Jamar has had his opportunities at this belt before, and it has slipped through his fingers. That Craig French fight started off slow, really started coming on strong, was looking excellent in the late rounds and the championship rounds, and kind of slipped on a takedown attempt that I think he was initiating takedown, and just fell to the canvas in the wrong way and found himself on the wrong side of that takedown, and in the blink of an eye, that fight was over. And he had debated on whether to go professional or not. So this is something that means a lot to him because he stuck around. He felt unfinished business that he needed to take care of before he moves on, maybe to the next stage in his career. But Carrington Johnson is, like you said, by no means non-deserving of this title shot, even with his 2-1 record. He has not amassed this record fighting any tomato cans or bombs or schlubs out there. No mopes on this guy's resume whatsoever. So this one is going to be fan-fucking-friendly for sure. There is not a lot of guarantees I can make when it comes to the fight game, but I guarantee you this one's going to be fun to watch. So, man, I mean, what a way to end the amateur side of this card and set these fans up. I don't say for what they came for, because I guarantee there's going to be a lot of people there that came for these undercard fights or for these amateur fights and undercard fights. So, but what a way to get these guys in the crowd ready for what's about to happen after this point.
Dylan.
Yeah, super stoked for this one, right? We'll start with the Carrington Johnson side. We saw Carrington Johnson get the win in Chattanooga, and he looks to be pretty well-rounded. Great physique. He's in great shape. He's got heavy hands. He can put it on you. He's a strong guy. I would not want to be underneath him as he is raining down blows, because it won't take many for him to shut your lights off. And if we're talking about a potential weakness, and I hate to say that because I know Justin Jamar's young and improving, he got backpacked by French in round one of their title fight, right? Couldn't get him off of his back. Then he took over with the striking for two, and then he, as Jeff said, he fell into just kind of a bad position off of a reversal, finds himself getting choked. You look at Justin the Sniper Jamar, probably the best technical striker on our roster, in my opinion. That's just my take of what I've seen. His hand speed is awesome. He's got a piston jab that he'll bust your nose with before he hits you with a straight that will probably drop you. I've been told, and I haven't seen it as much, he's been a little cleaner with the striking, but I've been told that he'll throw wild spinning stuff. I haven't seen him break any of that stuff out yet, but I know that it's a tool in the toolbox.
He saves it for Nashville, Dylan.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then perfect. Huh? This is a big stage, and I would love to see flying knee, spinning this, spinning that. I love it. And I think with the atmosphere, both of these guys, egos might take over a little bit, and it might be time to just throw down. Gold's on the line. Whoever comes out of this one on the short end of it, I don't think has anything to hang their head about, because there's just so much talent between these two in this contest. But it's very exciting to imagine that one of these guys is going to be walking out of there as champion. And then where do we go from here? I can't imagine either one of these two guys having a boring fight ever. They're always two talents that when I see are on our card, I'm super stoked for. So it's going to be awesome to call one of these guys champion, and it's such a great stage for them to showcase their skills. And then we're on to the pros. So it's just awesome. I'm super stoked.
On to the pros indeed. But before we move on to the pros, let's get a quick word in from our buddy Greg Hopkins, Warrior Home Improvement. Let's check out this spot.
Here at Warrior Home Improvement of Chattanooga, we understand that our customers want to feel confident that they have hired responsible, responsive, and trustworthy contractors to properly do any job ahead to help you maintain your home or business. Our storm restoration specialist team handle all jobs, big or small, inside and out in the event of a weather catastrophe, as well as our asphalt maintenance and striping crew dedicated to making your lot and driveway shine bright. We aim to provide professional customer care because every satisfied customer could potentially lead to another business opportunity. Please look us up on Google or Facebook, or give us a call at Warrior Home Improvement today. It all starts with one call.
Straight from the gas chamber. That was Greg Hopkins.
Right, no job too big or small. Give Warrior a call. And I believe, I could be wrong, there was a Q Sims cameo at the bottom of the ladder, my man.
Yeah.
I was texting with Greg last night, man. We each had a couple bad beats in UFC, but love catching up with Hopkins. He's the best.
Let's get into these pro fights, of course. Right now, we're about to tell you the odds for the first time. There's some that may surprise you. Some may not. But I'm excited to talk about it. You can catch these odds. Now, odds are subject to change, of course, but these are the opening odds. Action 247. Use the promo code Aries, and on your initial deposit, they're going to match you up to $400. So that's kind of cool. Get that extra money to play with. That's always fun. So, our first pro bout of the night is going to be a catchweight bout. And, this one is going to be at 175 pounds. And it's going to be between Antoine Curtis and Crazy Khali. We've got interviews with both guys here on the site. Make sure you check it out. Antoine Curtis comes into this making his professional debut, and after a 4-5 amateur record, but that doesn't include a lot of his kickboxing Muay Thai experience. He's got quite a bit of kickboxing experience that goes along with that. He's been out though now for going on a couple of years. He'll be making his professional debut against Crazy Kyle Lee out of Legion Jiu-Jitsu in Hendersonville. Purple belt. He's a grappler that likes to bang. Essentially, he's a guy that is very skilled on the ground, but he can get drawn into firefights from time to time. 0-1 is his professional record, coming off of his debut against Bad News. Bubba Cruz caught him early, knocked him out. It was kind of one of those fights where both guys are just in the breach, throwing them things, and sometimes you get caught with them. But since then, Kyle has had neck surgery, so that's why he's been out. But looks to be in phenomenal shape right now. Whenever I'm watching his social media and whatnot, it looks like he's in great shape. So it looks like he's in good place coming back from this neck surgery, trying to get that first pro win. The odds on this one, straight pick 'em, -110 either side, a straight pick 'em. So there is no favorite. They're calling this as close can get. For the record, even though Action 247 does not typically let you do the over-unders, the other books that are carrying over in Colorado, Arizona, they may. So the over 1.5 is +115. The under 1.5 -140. I can agree with that. I do think somebody's going to get finished here. I don't know which way it'll go. I think that both guys are capable of the knockout. I think if it gets to the ground, on paper, Kyle probably the favorite there. It's just that Kyle doesn't always fight to get the fight to the ground. And so should be an interesting one to start us off. I'll go with you first, Dylan. Get your take.
Well, I'll tell you what, just based off of those odds indicating that we're looking at the under, right? And then you look at the names of these gyms. You got Modern Gladiator versus Legion. It's going to be a militaristic battle, right? Like these guys, they're not going in there to play patty cake and spar for 3 rounds. Somebody's getting hurt. I did not know that Kyle Lee is coming off a neck surgery. Neck injuries in this sport, MMA, it's not just somebody locking up a submission on you. Transitions, clinches, tie clinches, somebody wrenching on your neck, you really hope no ill effects from that surgery. Kyle Lee is very imposing. I went back and watched a couple of his amateur fights. He's a scary-looking guy. I did not get a chance to see as much on Antoine Curtis, but I'm told that he's a competent striker. And the odds kind of are reflecting that. If you're seeing the under be the play, I don't have a prediction as far as a wager standpoint goes, but I do think that for the first pro fight of the night, after the crowd has seen a couple of belts get put on champion's waist, this is going to let them know they're watching pro MMA and that somebody out there is getting smashed and somebody out there is doing the smashing. So I'm looking forward to it.
So, Jeff, we're not allowed to give any wagering advice being in the positions that we are in. However, our good pal Cody Saftik is one of the best in the game. So make sure you come back and check out the channel because we're going to have an in-depth betting preview with Cody breaking down all these pro fights. He's going to give his picks with the odds factored in. I think we're going to probably record that by midweek. We should have that here on the channel for you. It's always really our best episode in the lead up to these events. Also, Cody going to be in the house for commentary, which is going to be a lot of fun as well. Jeff, your take on this opening pro bout? We've had a chance to talk to both guys, and it's almost time to let them throw down.
It is. We are not allowed to bet, but damn it, Cody is. Cody can, and he'll tell you exactly how he would if he could, or he may. Who knows? But I'm excited. Commentary team will be stepping in and breaking down these fights tremendously. I know during the card, but this will be a good way to stuff our professional side of the evening, man. Straight pick 'em. You can't get any closer than that. And that was great matchmaking to let these guys sign up to fight each other. Like I said, you have one debut and you've got an 0-1 who, in his debut fight just happened to step in there with, a damn buzzsaw. But Kyle Lee, ticket sales, local guy. So ticket sales are really looking good for Kyle Lee right now. So you're going to start having more of the rabid fans really kind of start in at this point. We've got some really good ticket sales from the undercard. Right now is when kind of those big numbers start for crowd support. So I imagine it's going to get live in there at this point. And, not to mention a lot of these guys, while they represent certain gyms, Nashville's an area where these guys do a lot of cross training. So they have a lot of crossover fans as well because of the time they spend, going to other gyms. So the atmosphere is going to be great. As far as what goes on in the cage, kind of like Tim, you just talked about, while Crazy Cal has his, what he's more known for, it doesn't mean that he always implements that game plan. He's known as a grappler. He's known as kind of one of those just grinder guys, but he has no problem just abandoning all that and stepping in the pocket and saying, let's just go for it. So I imagine that I feel that that's what's going to happen here at this, in this fight as well. Antoine coming over from Virginia. Don't get it twisted, though. Antoine's going to have a lot of fans because of the same crossover scenario in the Virginia area, because Antoine Curtis is really close and tight-knit with the Ring family and the Ring clan, Ring Combat. So all those people that are driving from Virginia to represent and stand up for Robbie Ring, when they hear that Virginia getting called out after Antoine's name, I imagine he's going to have a battling contingency of fans to go head-to-head with the Kyle Lee fan as well. But that's kind of how I see the fight playing out. Don't have a take one way or the other on who's going to be standing with their hand raised while the other one's not. But I definitely see this, again, the atmosphere, the feeling, the nerves, crowd, the bigger stage and walkout, the lights. I think it's going to be one of those, to hell with everything else, let's put on the show type of fights. And I got a feeling they're just going to stand there in the pocket and see who's standing left.
I have a feeling you're right. I don't know who's going to be left standing, but I do think that we're going to get an exciting finish one way or the other in this opening bout. Moving on to our next pro bout is featherweight action. It's the Kurdish King, Avamai, making his second professional appearance. He is 1-0 coming in with his debut win over Austin Carter a few months back. He is going to be representing. You just got him down as Team Henzo Gracie on this one. I know he's doing some cross training with Nashville MMA though, and he's going to be taking on Damian Gaskin. Damian Gaskin making his professional debut, and he is with the Marine Corps up in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. One of the combatives instructors up there is Damian Gaskin. Now, he's been out for a couple of years, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of rust is there, if any, on Gaskin. This is a fight where it's very, very opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to like age and build and just experience. Mai is one of these new generation guys that's just more or less grown up training MMAs. Even though he's still young in his years, he's still got lots of years of training under his belt. Whereas Gaskin is, he's early 30s already, a career military man, but I say that he is a man, and he is obviously a very strong man. You can see that Gaskin is put together, and it'll be interesting to see if Gaskin's I guess we'd say like kinetic strength is enough to stave off the attack from Avamai, who was not able to just toss around Austin Carter like he may have thought he could. Now, Austin Carter had a very extensive wrestling pedigree, so we'll see if it's a similar situation with Gaskin. Gaskin never been finished. That was one thing that stood out to me on his record. He's never been finished. The odds on this one, Avamai the favorite, as I would have expected him to be. He is minus 185. Avamai is minus 185 with a comeback on Gaskin being plus 150. They've got the total set at 2.5, but the over 2.5 is minus 300. So the odds makers don't expect the streak of non-finishes rather, to come to an end here. The under 2.5 plus 250. I'll let you start this time, Jeff.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Those that think just because Gaskin is not in a traditional gym, if you have never done your research, looked into military Army combatives classes. It's pretty much going to war every day that you have combatives class. Where your gym may have, maybe 10 fighters in it that you're training against. This is a barracks gymnasium full of guys that you're going round after round with. And you know what? There's just something damn different about training to win a fight or training to possibly survive and, win your life if you had to be in a combat situation. So Gaskin is a damn tank when you look at him. Like you said, there's just going to be that man strength that's going to be there that I was going to have to deal with. I think the strength in his first fight against Austin Carter was strong, but it was strength combined with really good technique that made him difficult to handle. But the fact that Ava's debut was such a grinding, grueling, 100% just had to dig down and earn type victory, I think that's going to bode well for him in his sophomore outing, that he had such a difficult, debut. I think the technique of jiu-jitsu may be the difference maker in this bout. Is if Ava finds himself in positions that that sneaky jiu-jitsu shit works. When your opponent is looking to strength and brute force get out of things, and that chess match in Ava's head, going on in his mind is just kind of maybe luring Gaskin and setting him up possibly for something. But we saw Ava in a position in his debut where he had Austin Carter back for a long time, and just was not able to sink it in. So who knows what's going to happen here. I know the Kurdish community will be out in full force in Nashville. They always are, but I gotta imagine that there's going to be quite a few making that trip down I-24 from Fort Campbell to come watch. And let me tell you, whether you're coming down to support Damian Gaskin or not, if you're a freaking American and you love the country you live in, he deserves your applause as well, just for what he does day to day and stepping in there to entertain you guys.
Dylan.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued. Jeff kind of highlighted some important differences, that a couple of different attributes that both of these fighters have that they might be able to utilize to get an edge. That the last contest where we saw Ava, I was hearing so much buzz about his skill, and he definitely showed his skill. Was not able to get the finish, and he was looking like it wasn't going as easily as maybe he thought. Now, Austin Carter, super game, super good wrestler. I guess I'm worried that maybe the same thing might happen. He's going to run into a guy who's a little older, a little stronger, and Jeff's saying it's going to come down to technique. And obviously, he's a high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner, Team Gracie. No layups here in the pro world, right? I mean, you had a really tough fight your first time out. Now you're fighting this guy who is a U.S. Marine Corps combative trained, just beast. If he can stay unblemished, if Ava can stay unblemished, I mean, that's going to be just awesome, because these are two really stiff tests to start a pro career. As far as Mr. Gaskin goes, I am excited to see him in Aries. I was able to look online this morning and kind of got a sense that he is a big, strong, tough guy. So strength versus technique, a little age difference. It's a recipe for a really intriguing fight. Tim, did you state the odds already? I was curious what the odds on this one were.
Yeah, Ava's minus 185 with Gaskin coming back at plus 150.
Yeah, I mean, that's good value on the dog for what we're talking about. But at the same time, Ava's kind of one of these, young Aries, I would say stars, because every time I talk to somebody about him, they say, the guy's got a really bright future, super skilled, super young, still improving. So that's kind of a theme on this card, right? Is some of the best competitors in Aries putting themselves to the test on a big stage, and that's exactly what this is. So Can't wait to see how it plays out.
Up next, we've got a lightweight contest as Logan, the real deal, Neal, takes on Dedrick Sanders. And Logan Neal out of the Gogi Combatives comes in with a record of 3-4. Dedrick Sanders out of National MMA with a inverse record of 4-3. And so very close fight here. Logan, of course, coming off of our main event outing in Chattanooga last time out. He lost a 5-round unanimous decision to the new Aries professional champion, Pat Crumpton. Shout out to Pat. I think Pat's going to be in the house this Saturday night. And, of course, hard-fought battle on Logan Neal's end. Wasn't able to stave off the takedowns at the end of the day and ended up dropping what was that, his second, I want to say a second straight, if not his third straight. So a bit of a slide for Logan right now. Been fighting tough guys. There's no secret about that. There's an interview with Logan on the channel here. You can check that out. Logan, one of the main training partners with one of our main eventers, Trevor Peak. So he's been dialed in and ready for this date because it's a big fight for both of them. Of course, it'd be interesting to see for me if Logan's approach changes at all with the recent losing streak, or if he kind of sticks to his guns and just improves in the approach he's been going with. Dedrick Sanders will be the third Nashville MMA product that Logan has attempted to take down after falling to Pat Crumpton and Charlie Alexander. Sanders is coming off of a win last time out, but prior to that had been on a bit of a slide himself. Although all of his losses also to very tough guys. You're seeing guys like Jonathan Pierce. You're seeing guys like Terrence McKinney on his record. So both of these dudes have very deceiving records. I think that's safe to say. The talent we're going to see between a 3-4 versus a 4-3 is going to be higher than what you may anticipate. Because both these guys have had a very tough strength of schedule that a lot of guys ain't going to fight at that young in their careers, bottom line. The odds on this one may surprise you, as Logan is actually the favorite here. Logan Neal is minus 150 with Dedrick Sanders coming back at plus 125. So on paper, I would have expected this fight to be a pick'em, honestly. Maybe Sanders slightly favored, but I think the odds makers are looking into recent kind of like, what have you done for me lately? How have you looked, and what kind of level have you been fighting against lately? And Logan has fought very, very difficult lately and has been at least what would be construed as competitive, I think, in those fights. And I think that's why they have him as the favorite here. Regardless, I expect this will be a lot of fun. I really don't know what kind of attack Sanders will come with. If you look at his footage, it looks like he wants to strike. But with this being, if I'm not mistaken, Jeff, is this his first fight with Nashville MMA, or has he had a fight with Nashville MMA?
I think it's B2.
I want to say he was with Bernard in the last video I saw of him. I thought he had Swift kick in his corner, but I could be wrong. So this may or may not be his first fight with Nashville MMA. If at the most it's his second fight with Nashville MMA. So I'll be curious to see if that changes the approach that you typically have seen from him with Nashville MMA, knowing that the key that they've found to beat Logan Neal is to take him down. Will they try to implement that game plan with a guy that typically doesn't fight that way? So we'll see. We'll go to Dylan to start.
This is going to be, I think, a very spirited contest. Dedrick Sanders, like you said, those two of the three losses on his record are against guys that are pretty top level guys, and I don't think those are the kind of losses that you feel too bad about. I mean, they just keep getting better with time. As the underdog here, Sanders maybe has a little chip on his shoulder. As far as Logan Neal, super likable guy. And I know that Crumpton fight, I bet you there's a couple moments he wishes he could have back just because he was finding moments of success there on the feet. And a couple times he kind of initiated what turned out to be his own takedown that he just, I mean, Crumpton will suffocate you, and that's what happened in that fight. On a personal level, you're cheering for Logan Neal to get back on the winning path because it seems like he's working really hard over there at Agogi. Very entertaining fighter. And this will be the first time that I'm seeing Dedrick Sanders fight in person. So it's another Nashville opponent here for Logan, and I feel like maybe if this one doesn't go his way, he's going to be hating the city of Nashville. But, it's hard to say. Logan Neal is a pretty complete fighter, but we did see him kind of struggle with extremely heavy top pressure from his last opponent. Sanders would be served well to try and implement a similar game plan, but you've got to have a gas tank that's built to do that. Like, you can't just go out there and decide I'm going to be an elite level wrestler today. Like, that kind of is an acquired skill that either you have or you don't. And I just personally don't know if that is a game plan he's capable of implementing for the duration of the fight. No picks for me on this one. I will be watching just like everybody else, and I expect all of these to be bangers. And Logan Neal brings the fight, so this is going to be a good contest.
Before I go to you, Jeff, I didn't do the total on those. The total of 2.5 is over under 2.5 is a pick 'em essentially. So you flip a coin whether or not it's going to get a finish or not. Your take, Jeff.
Yeah, and that's just solely based on the fact that we have seen, 8 full rounds out of Logan, whether or not he's on, the losing side or not. He's hard to get out of there, so I could see that. You asked, will Logan change anything up? I'm going to say no. It's not because he can't or he doesn't have the skill to do it. He wants to. I think he wants to be who he is and enjoys, what he brings to a fight. Obviously, he wants to win, wants to come out with the bigger paycheck at the end of the day. But I think it is just as important to him to be himself and put on a show and give 110% in the center of the cage and just either kill or kind of be killed, type of attitude. So can he? Yes, he's got the ability to switch it up. Will he? I don't think he will. I think he's going to be who he is and fully feels that this is going to be the one where his strength and strong point is going to shine through. Dedrick Sanders did fight in, I believe it was Nashville, wasn't it, for that other promotion? Mm-hmm. I didn't get a chance to really. I was there at the show, but honestly, I was there. I was just kind of hanging out, just checking the vibe out, and didn't really pay much attention to the fights as a whole. So I'm kind of in the same boat as Dylan, where I haven't really seen a lot of Dedrick Sanders. I know he's with a good gym, and he's got a lot of, at that weight class, a lot of excellent damn training partners. So he's getting a lot of looks. He has that knowledge of training side by side every day with Logan's past 2 opponents, which, kind of like Dylan said, would probably, when it's come to creating a game plan, you would have to lean towards, what worked for the other 2. But I think what people don't understand is while those worked, I mean, Logan got up quite a few times too, until kind of just the grind of that long 5, rounds. But in those early rounds, Logan doesn't just settle for staying on his back and being there, and he gets up, quite a few times. So we'll have to see whether or not Sanders is at that MMA grappling level that Pat is. Can he take him down? If he does, can he keep him down? When Logan has his stand up, can he withstand that pressure that Logan brings and that slap my chest and come on attitude and let's throw down? So it's going to be interesting. I'm like you, Tim. I kind of saw this as more of a pick 'em, but I'm not upset at the odds, because you got to think of who's making the odds, and it's Action 24/7 has seen Logan compete close up his last 2 bouts, and I think the level of competition that he fought I think is what weighed on them making those odds. But if you look and you dig a little deeper, like you said, Terrence McKinney, SP. I mean, come on, Dedrick has been in there with some studs too. So I'm surprised that wasn't a little closer to pick him, but I'm not upset. I understand why it was the way it was. But there's going to be, I think, whether they want it or not, I think the two corners are going to bring heat too. It's going to be exciting for the two corners. I think the two fighters probably more so are just in there to fight and get a dub, and I think the two corners probably have more competition in them as far as a maybe more personal than the two fighters do on wanting their guy to come out victorious. So we'll see, man.
Feature bout is going to be a featherweight affair, and it's going to feature Zach Hicks making a quick turnaround for his win over Corey Delaney. He is now moved to 6-4, representing National MMA. He'll be taking on Black Label Martial Arts representative Charleston Pugh. Got interviews with both gentlemen on the site. Make sure you check it out. Charleston Pugh comes in at 5-1. A lot of people excited for this fight. This is one of those fights where we've kind of said this on here before. We announced it and we figured, cool, it's a good fight, it's a good matchup, looks good on paper. But we really got a really nice reception, it seemed like, from the region's MMA fans when we announced this, when everybody's like, man, this is fire, great matchup, and so it's kind of one that is, I don't want to say it's like flying low. I mean, it's our feature bout and it's getting its fair share of attention, but I think that it's another fight that could main event its own card. Realistically, this is a fight that we could see at the top of a typical card. So for it to be 3 down just speaks volumes to the next two fights after it. But Charleston Pugh, 5-1, also has got some professional boxing experience. Actually fought Damian Gaskin in professional boxing in one of those 6 degrees of separation here. Zach Hicks, we've talked about in the past, coming off a couple knee surgery, so he'd had a couple years off, had a couple fights fall off at the last minute with some bullshit, and finally got to see it through here against Corey Delaney this last time. Got him out of there in the first round, stayed in camp, very quick turnaround here, and now he steps back up against Charleston Pugh. And the odds on this one, Charleston Pugh is a slight favorite, -125. Zach Hicks coming back at +100, so fairly negligible number there. And then the total over 2.5 is -145, under 2.5 +120. So they're expecting this one to go the rounds. I do too. We'll go to you first, Jeff. Is that right? Is it Jeff first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. About right now, right here. If it wasn't for the two that are above it in the card, this one would be headlining any of our other shows. Right now, like you said, Tim, we're reading a lot of stuff over on the coastline, even the states below us. A lot of people interested in this one because they know Zach from his history, the NFC crew, the conflict crew.
Because he's gone and fought out there in those regions before, so they are familiar with Hicks up there,
Yep, absolutely. Hicks has gotten around in his career, and like I was saying, the conflict and NFC crew who recommended Pugh, to us. They're very familiar with him. They love this fight, and I think this one's definitely going to satisfy the rabid MMA fans in Nashville this Saturday. What was interesting to me, again, you look at a guy with a 5-1 record. You might have a lot of times where you're trying to match a guy like Pugh, and you're going to have some fighters with some reservations. They're going to kind of say, what else you got, kind of thing. And so what was interesting was when we were presenting Zach Hicks with, kind of a little handful of possible opponents, and some records maybe weren't 5-1. Those 4-2, 3-1 type record. It was the 5-1 guy that he wanted. In fact, he was so anxious he could not stand that it was taking just a little while to close the deal. He wanted this one bad. So there was something about the matchup that I think Zach liked that he feels that he may have, strength in. And then the other side was the straight respect was at this age in my at this age and point in my career, if I'm going to do anything after this fight, I've got to beat a guy like this. Beating anyone with a lesser record, lesser accomplishments is not going to keep my momentum going forward. So it was a very important fight to him. And I think on the flip side, talking to Charleston Pugh, even though Zach has a 6-4 record, he's got 10 professional fights, and his losses are to high quality opponents. Charleston Pugh also knows that beating a salty vet who's been in the game as long as Zach Hicks will also send his trajectory, forward. So both men need this victory to get them to that next step. And so with that need that's there, you're going to see a very calculated bout, I think, a very calculated fight. No one's going to make any rash decisions. It's going to be very technical, I believe, to make sure that no mistakes are made in this fight. So that over definitely, I think, is a good lean because I think both guys, I don't want to say are going to be cautious, but they're going to be smart in how they approach this fight.
I think you're right about that. I think especially early. If someone begins to get behind, then you may see one side pick up the urgency to try to make up ground, which in turn could make everything urgent. Who knows? Dylan, your take here. I'm interested to hear this one.
Yeah, so Zach Hicks, when we saw him last after his win over Corey Delaney in Chattanooga, basically just came off as like the ultimate baby face. I mean, he gets in there and he talks about how he's coming off the injury, right? So you're already kind of cheering for somebody coming back from an injury, just as a natural fan. He's got his family with him. He starts talking about, I believe he's a school teacher, right? He teaches school. Yeah. So I mean, he's got people in the community, obviously good community ties. And I can only imagine that here in Nashville, this crowd is going to be firmly behind him. And then Jeff did a great job of just highlighting for both of these fighters what a fight like this does for one another, right? So it's going to be a highly contested fight. Charleston Poe is going to be kind of naturally the foil to Zach Hicks being the crowd favorite because he's going to be going in there just as hard to take this W from somebody who's going to be in a building full of supporters. I'm glad it's the feature bout. Both of these guys, experienced mixed martial artists. This win is very valuable to both men. That can't be overstated. Do I have a lean on it? I mean, I watched some tape on Charleston today, and he seems pretty complete. He seems like he can crack. He seems like if he gets himself in a bad position, he's skilled enough to get out of it. Zach Hicks, he had the layoff for the injury, but he's a complete martial artist as well. And 6-4, honestly, that's not really indicative. He's a higher level fighter than what that record says. I can't call it. I think both of these guys are skilled enough to go the distance. But man, it's going to be electric. The crowd's going to be going crazy for this one, and that's going to be something to see.
Co-main event, man, excited for this. This is the nitty-gritty, if you will. Another featherweight bout here, 145 pounds. It's going to be Razor Robbie Ring, representing Ring Combat out of Whitfield, Virginia, putting his undefeated 4-0 record on the line against Jacob the Killer Kilburn, 8-6, out of American Top Team proper down in Miami. And he'll be coming in into this fight with a record of 8-6. But on the slide, we talked to both of these guys, and two very different interviews on the site. Two very different mindsets, I believe, going into this, but equal levels of confidence, I believe. This is a fight where it's goes without saying, the biggest step up Razor Robbie Ring has seen by far, comparably speaking to his competition up until this point. But up until this point, Robbie has gotten everybody out of there as you would expect him to get them out of there in a ruthless, vicious fashion, very quickly. No playing with his food, really. He gets them out of there. Lots of guys ducking Robbie Ring around these parts. It's not that Robbie has not tried to take steps up in competition. This one, though, still very, very big step up in Jacob Kilburn, who, UFC vet, PFL vet, has been around the game for a good long while. Kilburn seemed very confident in his interview that he's got more ways to win. He's got better training partners. He has just more experience overall. Robbie seems to think he's being overlooked on his from his perspective, and feels like Kilburn's ripe for the picking at this point. A chance for him to make his name off the vet in Jacob Kilburn. It is. I don't want to say anything's ever like a must-win fight, but I feel like it's a very important fight for Jacob Kilburn to win here. A loss would certainly put him in a tough position to get back to where he's trying to get, the top of the food chain. So very interested to hear you guys take on this. Odds, Jacob Kilburn is the favorite. Jacob Kilburn at minus 190. Robbie Ring back at plus 155. The total's 2.5. Over 2.5, plus 125. Under 2.5, minus 140. Dylan, do these odds surprise you in any way?
I mean, this to me is a very difficult fight to handicap. The skill sets, right? We're still looking to see Robbie show the striking that maybe he hasn't had to show, because he's just basically been a hot knife through butter, grabbing people, slamming them, snatching their necks, snatching their limbs. And then with Jacob Kilburn, we know those hands are heavy. We know this guy can put people to sleep, but he's kind of had some tough luck. And I just want to say that if folks haven't taken time to go back and see the interviews that you guys have done with both of these guys, it's an awesome look and insight into the minds of two different mixed martial artists at different points in their careers. With Jacob Kilburn, so he's been somebody who was once where Robbie Ring was. He was on the fast track. He had the bright lights. He's gone to all over big venues and fought some of the best competition in the country. But then he's also got the experience of when it doesn't go your way, and maybe the people who are calling you and being sweet to you on social media, and they stop shining up your wheels, and you're left with the sobering reality of, you got to do this to your training regimen. You got to do this to your diet regimen. You got to make these changes, right? That's not fun to do. That's not fun to do at all. Robbie Ring, on the other hand, he's kind of like, he's got the excitement about him. He's got the, I don't want to say he's not jaded. I mean, he's obviously a very tough guy, but he hasn't faced a situation where he's had to make these big changes. He still trains at kind of a home gym there in West Virginia, from a very small town. And it's like the future's bright. I don't want to be obnoxious about it, but I kind of like an analogy is Jacob Kilburn is like a chef who has worked at a place for a really long time, and he's seen people come in and people come out, and he's experienced good times with the restaurant and bad times with the restaurant. And Robbie Ring has showed up, and he wants to change the menu, and he's got his own idea for what the hell he wants to do. And Jacob Kilburn just looking at him like, no, not on me. You're not going to do that. So I don't know why I was drawn to that. I worked in restaurants in my late teens and early 20s, and I just see in different walks of life and different occupations, you kind of see this story play out where somebody's on the way up, and maybe, I don't want to say Jacob Kilburn's on the way down, because he's still got the skill set. He could come in here and crack Robbie and have us all realizing that, there's levels to power and striking. But I just love the foil of these two people, of these two men, when they get in the cage. I just love the difference in the personality, and it's such an intriguing fight. So for me, I think it's really hard to handicap. I'm just going to be a fan on this one, and I can't wait.
Jeff, this and the main event, both kind of the same theme. Can the rising star get past the veteran that has been there, done that, and is still looking to do that? Your take on this co-main?
Yeah, same theme, both co-main event and main event. Let's not get twisted, guys. This wasn't kind of one of those attention-grabbing bouts that we just thought, hey, we're going to capitalize on two former UFC guys, coming in. These two bouts were put together for what they really truly are, and that is two young, hungry, up-and-coming fighters sitting on undefeated records that have fought with us before and are climbing their way up, and they asked us to be challenged, and we found the challenge. We found not we definitely did not find two washed up UFC guys that have been out of the UFC for 5 years, 10 years, and with one foot out the door of the sport. These are two guys that may have, gotten cut, but they just recently have gotten released for whatever political reasons, roster numbers, things like that. But, are just as close to getting back in. They need big wins against these young, hungry Lions that are trying to take their spots. That's how these two bouts were put together. Two very different viewpoints, though, when you talk to Kilburn and Robbie Ring. We'll talk about Worthy and Trevor Peek next, where both of their viewpoints are almost kind of similar, which is just a kill mentality.
No.
These two guys are on polar opposite ends, it feels like, of their thought process. And I don't, hell, you can go back and look at the videos yourself and you can see them. So I'm not telling you anything that's not already there. But, you look at Kilburn's social media and it's almost like a frustration on his face that we're even having to talk about this fight. He's riding in the car and rubbing his face just like, this is freaking silly, y'all. Like, why are we even talking? This kid's got nothing for me, and so it's not a secret I'm putting out there. It's out there. You can look at it. And Robbie is very much, like, hey, you disrespecting me, man. So where I think our main event is going to be just two lions going at each other, I think this one's going to have a lot more personal. Our two main eventers don't really care what the other person's name is or who they are, what they've done. They're both in there because there's a job to be done. These two in the co-main event, Robbie Ring and Jacob Kilburn, have almost found a way to make this personal, and I think it's going to show in every interaction they have this week in Nashville, whether that be going into the same room together, having to do weigh-ins and off with each other. I think it's going to be a thick, just air of something, I'm saying, when these two meet, when these two meet up all week. Like Dylan said, though, looking at two fighters and how this fight's going to go, Robbie has not had any adversity in his career. It's not his fault. He's taken the matchups that have been there. He's had opponents drop out. He's had opponents fill in last minute. He's fought who's been in there with him and who will sign the dotted line and get in there with him. And it's not his fault. He's been, to this point, the more skilled fighter and come off with, damn near flawless victories. But the fact of the matter is he has not had any adversity, and that's what we've got to wait and see happens. Is Kilburn going to give him that adversity, and how is he going to handle it? We know how Kilburn handles adversity because he's told you. I mean, adversity in the MMA game, the adversity of life in general, in his viewpoint, gives him an advantage over Robbie Ring. How he lives his life, in a foreign state away from everybody he knows, struggling at life's, normal struggles that we all deal with. We know that he's handled adversity and been there and been challenged by some of the best in the world. So it's going to be, we got the yin and the yang here, and we got to figure out, in a few days, which one's going to, come out victorious. Odds wise, like I said, Cody Safdie is probably going to break this down 100 times better than I'll ever be able to. I'm not disrespected at all by the odds. I think you've just got to look at the what's black and white in front of you, and that's the experience of Jacob Kilburn, the quality of opponent of Jacob Kilburn, and that's why that's why he's the favorite, and that's why there's a difference in those odds.
Main event. This is what we came for. Lightweight bout. And it is going to be another scenario very similar to what we just talked about, as Trevor Peek faces Kama Worthy, the Death Star himself. Trevor Peek undefeated at 5-0. Kama Worthy coming in at 18-9. Obviously, multiple-time UFC vet, and coming off of a knockout win himself just very recently up in Pennsylvania. Trevor Peek riding his undefeated streak in at 5-0. Odds on this one: Kama Worthy is the favorite. the biggest favorite on the card at minus 225. Trevor Peek coming back, biggest underdog on the card, plus 180. The total 1.5. Over 1.5 is plus 210. Under 1.5 minus 250. Odds makers think we're going to get a finish early in this one. We just may. I mean, you look at the records of both of these men, and you see a lot of knockout victories. Trevor has fought a fairly high level of competition to be this young in his career, taking on guys that most probably wouldn't be fighting at that young in their career. Guys like David Robbins, Ben Brewer. Just knocked out Warren Smith, another long-time dangerous vet. So Trevor Peek coming in with all the momentum in the world, training with the Gogi Combatives, getting a striking in with Jeff Powell as well. And a different kind of Trevor Peek's a different kind of energy and animal than anything that I've ever worked with. Honestly, it's not comparable to anybody else I've ever worked with. It's just a raw energy that is very unrivaled, and there truly is a switch with that man. That when the door closes to the cage, I mean, before the fights, he is truly one of the nicest guys you're going to come across. Very polite, very respectful. Never seems to be in a bad mood, but it is a primal beast of sorts that is unleashed in that cage. Standing across from him, Kama Worthy, not phased a lick. You can listen to the interview with both men here on the channel. Kama said he's already fought Trevor, probably already fought Trevor 4 times. Very experienced guy and has fought his share of upcoming, powerful, aggressive, athletic prospects. So for Kama, it's another day at the office. According to him, he's ready to come in here and collect his paycheck and continue to elevate himself back to the UFC or Bellator, wherever he can make the most of his finances. I'm sure he'll take the highest bidder, but he's looking to get back there. He's been there and he's looking to get back. Trevor's looking to get there for the first time. So both men are hungry. I'm not surprised that Kama was the favorite. I'm a little surprised he's the biggest favorite on the board, but I'm not surprised he is the favorite. I think the Trevor Peek fans are going to be laying their money down on that near 2-1 return, probably on their man, though, if I had to guess. I'm excited to hear both y'all's take on this one. I don't think we're going 3 rounds. I think somebody's going to get knocked out. Don't know who. It's going to be wild. It's going to be a scene.
It's going to be violent, man.
So who's Jeff? You're up first on this one, right?
Yeah, and it's difficult to sit here and just go, "Hey, we've made it all the way through this show, and we're at the main event, and I don't have much to say."
Yeah.
But that's just because you just look at the matchup, and we know one guy. We've gotten to know the other through, watching him on TV and getting to know him during this process, and you really are speechless. You just kind of just shake your head like, what the fuck is about to happen on Saturday night when these two get the cage door locked behind them? It's going to be violent. It's going to be ruckus. I've heard a lot of people, that have kind of from the outside looking at this and saying that, this is his hometown. Let's not get it twisted. He's not from Nashville. He doesn't even live in the state of Tennessee. But you will not know that from the crowd that will be in Nashville Saturday night. You'll feel like it's a hometown crowd, a hometown show for him, but it's not. Trevor Peek is another breed of animal from Alabama, who knows only one: it's violence. And then you talk to Trevor Peek, to Kama Worthy, and you get to know him. You know what you've seen on TV, but he is the same type of animal in his neck of the woods, in his part of the country. He's the same type. He is the Trevor Peek of his area, where it's all about just violence and wanting to destroy the person that's standing on the other side of the cage from. So something has got to give. Trevor, we've talked to him in this lead up. It's business as usual for him, where he's thankful to be here. He's thankful for the opportunity, and he just wants to show the world who Trevor Peak is and what he's capable of. You talk to Kama Worthy, and like you said, Tim, this is business as usual for him. And you can't blame the guy for how he sees this fight, which is it's just another up-and-comer trying to take my spot, and I think he didn't mean as much disrespect as maybe some other people took it as in saying, I fought Trevor Peak several times. What he's basically just trying to tell the world is I've had to face a person in the same situation so many times where they are the big dog in their region, in their area, and they have a big following, and they're excited that their guy is getting to fight someone who's been in the position that they want to get in or want to see him in, and it's my job to keep that from happening. I think is what he meant by it. But when you know Trevor and you know what you're getting with the Trevor Peak fight, and then you just hear the confidence that oozes out of Kama Worthy, and all you can do again is just shake your head back and forth like this is going to be ridiculous. If anybody's looking for a seat, you can probably have mine, because I'm not going to be able to sit down in a chair during this fight. I'm going to have to find a place to just pass on the floor. The tension is going to be palpable, man. Butterflies for everybody involved. Absolutely, this thing is not seeing a decision. If I have to put any money down in life, it would just be that this bout, no matter who wins, is not seeing a judge's decision. Tim, this was why we came up with Aries Ampd, for this moment right here, for this atmosphere, for the lights, for the pictures that are going to be taken, and for just the flashes going off, for this moment, to look around and see not a single butt sitting in the seat for this fight. So it's kind of a bittersweet, thing too, that everything that we foresaw this show being is going to be pretty emotional for me. Just that we're here. We're at the moment. Aries Ampd main event. Who we wanted this main event to be from the day we sat down and threw out names. We said Trevor Peak versus Kama freaking Worthy.
Yeah.
And their last fights, they both fought on the same exact night, their last bouts in 2 different states. And we did that almost kind of perfectly too, where it was not one person can say they've had more layoff than the other. They want everything is perfect. And
both first round knockouts. And
and both when we checked, we had Trevor in front of us and we checked Kama's, update, and it was like both of them first round knockouts. And it couldn't be more perfect. This is the perfect storm, just like the movie, 2 storms that just met right in the middle. And it's going to be brutal.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy for us, to just come on here and say, like, it's amped, it's going to be badass, it's going to be good. It really, there's no way that we limp out of here. I don't feel like, no matter how these fights end, I know that they're going to be so much energy between both the fighters and the crowd that are there to support these fighters on these last 3 fights, that it's going to be just it's going to be a happening. Dylan, final take of this episode. We'll wrap it up.
No pressure. I'll tell you what, gentlemen, real quick, just while we're reflecting here, it's an honor to be able to work with this promotion, and you guys have been awesome. And as I look at the 2 names here in the main event, I think back probably 1.5 years, 2 years ago, but the time flies, maybe even 2.5 years ago. I was sitting on a couch after working as a delivery man, and me and my brother were plugging Kama Worthy into our DraftKings lineups, and I didn't know anything about him. He was a budget play, and then he goes out there and he knocks out Devontae Smith, and then bam, all of a sudden I know about Kama Worthy. I watch him in the UFC. He's a very entertaining fighter. I was always a fan of whenever I'd see him on a card. This past year, I've started, working with you guys. My very first experience for Aries in a main event, I was cameraman for a Trevor Peak walkout, and I really didn't even know what I was in for. I just knew this guy's got some fans in the house. I see he's got a good record. I hear that he's got some fans. I hadn't even watched a YouTube video on him at the time. And then he comes bursting through the curtain, and I'm walking with him on his way out, and he's roaring in my face, and it's super emotional. Everybody's got his speakers. People are freaking out. Some lady grabbed my wife in the crowd and told him that she thought Trevor Peek was like the sexiest man alive, and this guy's a star all of a sudden. You know, I'm seeing a superstar down here. So to be in Nashville on our biggest card, and you got Kama Worthy versus Trevor Peek, I'll tell you what, I'm hearing those odds, and every time I've seen Trevor fight, I guess I'm just used to him getting to be a bigger and bigger favorite. So to see plus money by his name, that's kind of wild. So Kama's got the experience. He's got a great skill set. I guess the one critique is he might be a little chinny, or not even so much that he's chinny, just that he's there to be hit, right? And with Trevor Peek, what we've seen is if you're there to be hit, you won't be there very long because you can't really get hit by him very much because there's just so much power on those shots. So styles make fights, and I know Kama Worthy's caught people with some check hooks. So when you rush in to try and hit him with that big blow, you might run into one of his check hooks. And I mean, it turns into a calculus equation. You start trying to figure out who the hell's got the edge here, because to get the job done, each guy has to do the thing that's going to put him in danger. So, I mean, when you guys are going back and forth about it's going to be violent and the fans are going to be happy, I mean, there's no outcome that I can't see that being the case. So, yeah, the under definitely in play. The experience of Worthy versus the raw momentum, talent of Trevor Peek. Obviously, he's in great shape. You saw in the filmed spot for this event, the guy's running around Nashville, beating up tires with hammers, just looking like $1 million. I mean, he's a star. It will be kind of just awesome to have this moment start, and I'll take a look over at you guys. I'm sure you'll be freaking out. It's going to be awesome, though. Nashville is a great setting for this. Trevor is just an awesome talent, and regardless of how this goes, man, this is going to be the main event, and you're going to know it's the main event. It's going to be out of control. Get goosebumps talking about it. So this week can't go by fast enough because I can't wait to see this one. This is going to be awesome.
That'll do it for this preview, guys. It's been a long one, so we appreciate you guys sticking with us. Make sure you like, subscribe to the channel. We're going to have lots more content coming out this week, including our betting preview with our man Cody Saptic. We'll have that up midweek. You can get his betting advice on all these fights. I'm excited to hear that because I'm just actually curious to know what his take on these odds are. Are these proper? Are they off? So it'll be good to hear. You can bet on these fights at action247.com. Use promo code Aries. You get a match. They'll match your initial deposit up to $400 there, and you can watch the Action Expectation Sports. Gentlemen, it's almost time. We will see you guys at weigh-ins Friday. Jeff, are we going to have that on YouTube here, or can people watch the weigh-ins Friday on the channel here? Do we know?
Yeah, I mean, it's just something for you and I to decide whether we're going to put them on the very least, the AMP Facebook page, YouTube, somewhere.
Yeah, at the very least, they'll be on our social media.
Yeah.
And if we're not live on YouTube, we can put a recorded version here or some such. But
we'll
make sure
be live.
Be live. So make sure you're subscribed, and you'll get a notification when we do that Friday afternoon. For Dylan McCarthy, Jeff Hobbs, I'm Tim Lloyd. Thanks for sitting in on another edition of The 0 Hour. We'll see y'all in Nashville.